All right, peace and great blessings, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. It's time for Ask the Herbalist Hour, and I'm your host, Queen Shemorah. And this evening, I'm so excited because we are doing our part 3 in our series on Embrace and Celebrate Your Femininity. And tonight's guest is Sister Shemorah Shake. Yay! That's my drum roll.
Hi.
Hi. Welcome, sister. Welcome. I think this is our first time having you on this channel.
Yes, and thank you so much, Tamara. It is a pleasure, and I'm so excited about the conversation we're going to have tonight.
I am too. I am too. We've been talking about this a little bit over the last few weeks, but what motivated me to start this is because this discussion is I've been hearing a lot of talk in the last year or so about women not being feminine enough. And when you ask a person, well, what is feminine, they'll start talking about other things like, being sexy or how a person dresses, but it's so much more to femininity than that. And then with this new film coming out called The Woman King, I've heard a lot of people express their opinions on it, and what's a woman's role and what is appropriately and feminine for women, and all these kind of things. So I thought this would be a great topic to start, and we started 2 weeks ago discussing this. And so it's very important, I think. And the reason why I asked you to be a guest is, to me, you are someone that really embodies femininity, and you also help women tap into and connect to their femininity and how to express it in a positive way that honors them and just affirms their femininity. That's what I think. So that's why I asked you to be the guest tonight. So without talking any further, I'm gonna let you introduce yourself to our listening audience and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, I am the curator of the Feminine Arts for Rites of Passage Institute. And basically, it's about healing through the feminine arts. And that for us is, for example, I'm a belly dance teacher. I actually just am fresh from belly dance class right now. And I teach that every week, every Wednesday, 6 o'clock. It's Pink Moon Belly Dance. I also am a henna artist and teacher, and I lecture on the history and tradition, specifically the African history and traditions of henna body art,
Mm-hmm.
which is traditionally a women's art and
Mm-hmm.
is a very medicinal plant in itself that's used to do the henna body art. But the process of applying henna in itself is very healing. It's a sisterhood. It's how women take care of each other. So this is expressed through the healings express is happens through the belly dancing, through the henna. I also do womb steaming or yoni steaming.
Mm-hmm.
The herbs for women, whatever issues they may be going through as far as their womb center goes, I have herbs for that, and work with them on uh, blends that can work for them. So that touches on a little bit of like what I do. I also do moon ceremonies and rites of passages for women and girls. So that pretty much is why I really am excited about weighing in on this discussion. As I serve women. That's what I do. I mother mothers,
Yes.
and that's what I do every day. That's my business.
Right. And you're a mom of 3 beautiful children. Yes.
Yes, yes, a wife, a mom, a sister,
Mm-hmm.
all that.
Yes, a teacher, you teach dance and you teach your children. So that's wonderful, wonderful. Um, now you also mentioned the moon ceremonies that you done. No, this is not one of the things we agreed to talk about, but the moon ceremony. Could you talk a little bit about how you work with moon energy and how that helps with women, help affirm femininity?
That's so deep. I mean, I have to say right off that like I'm a Cancer, so that moon energy is very strong with me. Cancer is governed by the
Hmm.
moon, so I feel like it's just naturally
Yes.
infused in everything that I do. But I teach moon tracking classes, which is like mapping out your fertility cycle with the phases of the moon, But really, what it's about is that moon awareness is self awareness, and the more tapped in you are to that moon, the more healthy you are. And it's also a rhythm. The moon gives us a rhythm for checking in with ourselves, for making sure as a
Absolutely.
routine of like, how we take care of ourselves when we yoni steam. But I know I also do moon ceremonies every year. I do one or two where we all
Mm-hmm.
gather right before or right under the full moon, and we, release. We have a guided discussion. Women share their talents, and we prepare and learn about like rituals um, and ceremonies that keep us healthy for the that will go in line with whether it's a new moon or the full moon. And I also do first moon ceremonies for girls when they first get their moons. And so
Mm-hmm.
we do a lot surrounding the phases of the moon. And really, it's just a way of marking uh, to make sure we get these things in and that we check in. This is the time that we check and make our intentions. This is the time that we release. This is the time because otherwise, if you don't keep yourself on a rhythm and a routine, when are you doing it? And this is very important for stress management,
Mm-hmm.
for making sure that you are getting that time in.
That's excellent. Okay, great, great. Yes, I've been striving the last several years. I would say about 10 years or so to stay um connected to the moon cycles and the moon frequencies. It has really
Mhm.
helped a lot, especially using the new moon as a time to start new projects or new
Yes.
endeavors, and to use the full moon as a time to release and let go. It's been really helpful.
Yes, for
Been
me
really
too as
helpful.
well.
Hmm. Okay, so what does femininity mean to you? What is it? What is femininity?
So femininity, going down to the basics, the universe is created with masculine and feminine energy.
Hmm.
So everything is made with its complement. And so we have this yin and yang, we have this feminine and this masculine. So I feel like the feminine energy is like this very, nurturing and
Hmm.
grace are terms that come to mind with feminine energy. It's I think of earth. I think of something that grows things. I don't really think of some people say feminine energy is passive, whereas like masculine energy is more active or aggressive. But I
Hmm.
don't necessarily feel that about it. I feel like because the thing is, nurturing and growing something is an active thing, but it's also a
Yes.
feminine thing. So you can't really describe it with those with that polarization.
Mm.
Um, Feminine energy. So you have your masculine and feminine principle expressed, and that's harmony when you have a balance in those. But femininity is something that's part of everything, but so is masculinity. So we as
Yes.
women, however, have more emphasis on the feminine than the masculine, and that's a balance for us. So when I
Right.
think of femininity, I think of water. I think of grace. I think of flowing.
Hmm.
You don't have to really it's how you do things. You don't have to. You can kind of. It's more of kind of like a sit back and watch. You don't have to really be loud to get what you want.
Hmm.
It's like a confidence. It's like a quiet power.
Mm. Observant. Okay, yeah. Very good. All right. And next question. What are the different ways that women can express their femininity? I know you mentioned several things that you do and how those things or other things help women express their feminine power.
That's a good question. I think that it is something that we can't take for granted. It's
Mhm.
something we definitely have to work for, especially in a society where masculine energy is more valued,
Yes.
and that we are taught to be more masculine, to be more competitive than to be cooperative. And that's what's
Hmm.
more celebrated in this culture. So as women, but really for anybody, but as women especially, we have to work harder to stand in our power and our feminine power.
Hmm.
So we have to be more intentional um, about expressing our femininity, because
Hmm.
sometimes you're put down for that. Sometimes you are looked down on. or seen as weak if you express your femininity. So sometimes it can be hard to do, but things to express our femininity, I think, are also just everyday basic things
Mm-hmm.
do
Mm-hmm.
every day.
Oh, it's
So it
starting
could
to
be as
freeze a
simple
little bit.
as, you said what?
The computer, it started to freeze a little bit. The last sentence stopped, and then I can hear your voice again.
Okay.
Could you repeat what you
All right.
said? The last.
Oh, I think where it may have left off is I was saying it can be as easy as everyday things that we do, like how we approach situations, So, instead of being forceful and feeling like you have to scream or something to, get something accomplished, it's like, um, saying, expressing that or saying it in a different way, in a way
Mm-hmm.
where you don't have to like stress yourself out or come up out of your
Yes,
element to do it.
I agree.
It's
I like
definitely,
that.
yeah, yeah, because you want to stay in your power, you want to stay in your higher self, and
I
expressing
like
your
that.
femininity helps you to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and sometimes it is just about like crying if you need to cry it out.
Right.
We see crying is seen as like a weakness, but crying is a cleansing.
Yes,
It helps you to move on.
it does.
Now,
Yes.
if you stay there and that's all you ever do, then that's a problem.
Right.
But there's nothing wrong with like, so just something as simple as yeah, and how you use your voice,
Mm-hmm.
how you move. So but I mean, of course, I'm a belly dance teacher, so I'm gonna be like, look, I feel like belly dance is something that's infused in everyday life.
Oh,
So
okay.
stimulating that like womb center, whether it's you doing some belly rolls while you're driving or a shimmy when you're angry, right?
Okay.
I feel like these are ways that we express our femininity, and it can be other ways as well. It might be what you wear,
Mm-hmm.
focusing on softer pastels or something, getting into the soft life, as they say these days.
Yeah.
And yeah, and self care, like pampering and taking care of yourself, is a way to express your femininity, as they say.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Yes,
self
definitely
care is
different in self
running
care.
yourself ragged is not, no,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to do that. We
Mm-hmm.
want to flow.
Right. And you mentioned self-care with like henna, because I've been to one of your henna gatherings, and henna is, like you said, is a feminine art form. And when women get together and apply henna, it kind of makes you feel more feminine. It's like a chance to just unwind, and women come together and laugh and enjoy the time that they're spending together with henna. So do you find that that's another way to express your femininity?
Absolutely, because henna forces you to have to be still while it's
Mm,
drying. It
yeah.
forces you to have to be patient while it's drying,
Mhm.
while it's being applied. You cannot be on your phone tapping away or talking and getting henna at the same time. If you can, but it's probably going to look ugly, because you're
Mhm.
moving way too much. You can't be,
Right.
waving your hands all around. You have to be still. You have to be patient. And really, the only thing to do while you're sitting there waiting is to sip tea and have this discussion and, or, reflect or journal or something like that. So
Yeah.
it does definitely put you in your feminine power. And it's just something about doing an art or receiving an art that is 6,000 years old, and to know that women was doing this 6,000 years ago in Egypt is just like,
Mhm.
it's a connection. You're
Yes.
going to be in that energy.
Right, right. Yeah, okay. Another is, do you feel we need to redefine femininity? Because I know in this culture, growing up, it's a male dominated culture, and male characteristics, or what's been defined as male characteristics, are what is valued and promoted. And so femininity has been kind of taught to many of us in a way that is not empowering. um
Yes.
or what we've been told is feminine characteristics or feminine behaviors, not necessarily the kind of femininity that we want to embody. So do you feel like we need to redefine femininity?
I don't feel like we need to redefine it, but I think we need to strip down to the basics and go back to nature
Hmm.
instead of using like society as our ruler. as
Okay.
our letting society define that for us. But I think when you go back to like what has always been the way, like the creator source, created the universe, and just looking at examples in nature, like the moon itself and how it moves and how it does what it does, teaches you a lot about femininity in itself.
Mm-hmm.
How a plant grows, how the soil is, and gardening and things like that teach you a lot about femininity. So I don't think it's necessary
Mm-hmm.
that we need to redefine. I think we get caught up a lot. I think that could be very confusing. I think they're really just going back to the basics and keeping it simple, because it really is. First of all, it's an ancient concept. It's nothing new under the sun, and you can get caught up sometimes in just semantics and making things more complicated than what they really are. And I think we have to be careful of that, because
Mm-hmm.
there is no bottom line. Then you're going in circles and you get lost like that. So I think keeping the basics in mind and just going back to nature helps keep us on track with the core of what's important in that, and applying it to our lives.
Okay. Cool. Is feminine expression different for women of color?
I think it definitely is. And it's interesting because this came up in my dance class today. We were talking about, we're doing a sisterhood series on
Uh-huh.
building sisterhood. And
Oh,
we were
great. That's a
talking
great
about,
way to build sisterhood, belly dancing.
yes, it is. I mean, it's more for us, it's more about, we call ourselves a tribe. So it's definitely
Mm-hmm.
more about the connections we make with each other than about like fitness is a component and important too, but that's not
Mm-hmm.
what it's centered around. So it's a very holistic approach. But we were talking about so I'm sorry, ask me the question again.
Is feminine expression different for women of color?
Right. So we brought up the concept of womanism versus feminism.
Okay.
And
Explain.
womanism is a concept that was coined, I believe, by Alice Walker. And it's
Okay.
more of like the African, or if you will, African American version of, if you want to even say like feminism.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more about the harmony and balance between masculine and feminine, not being against men, but realizing and acknowledging that both energies are important, and that
Yes.
we want to have harmony between these two energies, and not that one needs to overthrow or overcome each other, but more about
Mm-hmm.
equality between them, and more based off of African concepts like cooperation and group, being group oriented and things like that. So I think it definitely is different for women, African American women, because just in those terms between feminism and womanism, the way we approach our womanhood
Mm-hmm.
is different than, I mean, in how we're raised as to be women, and how we have traditionally historically been, like in African society, how women have been viewed, and just overall generally it's very different than what white women have been through,
Mm-hmm.
and what they are still encountering, and what their experience have been in this country is very different than ours. We have never, for example, had a time that we did not work. So entering the workforce was a huge accomplishment for them, and a celebration for feminism. But for
Right.
Black women, it was just a continuation of what we already been doing. We've never not worked generally as a people,
Right. Mm-hmm.
so, and how we're raised, and how womanhood is portrayed in our, I mean, often we come from, it is not, for example, out of the ordinary for women to hold very much power in their family units, as
Yes.
matriarchs, whereas
Yes.
that
I
is something
agree.
more abnormal in the white community.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Black men are, not generally, intimidated by, I mean, we've always existed like this. I mean, there's
Mm-hmm.
no, there's been plenty of women intellectual scholars and queens and rulers, even soul rulers in African history, you know, um, than there have been in white history, and it's throughout the
Yes.
African world.
Yes.
Many African countries have already had women presidents. America still has not had a woman
Going
president.
president.
So I'm
Exactly.
just saying, I just feel like our experience and our issues are very different than what
Yes.
white women are going through. And so, for that fact, yes, femininity is different for us in womanhood.
Yes. And you mentioned something else about the matriarchy, because I think a lot of our households, there's a female head of household, or a female matriarch, if you will, who kind of like holds the family together, who is the financial power
Mhm.
also, in the family. And
Mhm.
so a lot of us see that kind of independence in our culture, and a lot of people will wrongfully say that this level of independence that women have is not feminine. But I always beg to differ that, because if you go, like you said, in Africa, you see that the woman holds a lot of influence in the marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
Women entrepreneurs are the
Mm-hmm.
norm in a lot of other cultures. You know,
Mm-hmm.
women have often been the ones who handle certain industries. And you know, whether it's the garment industry or
Mm-hmm.
the medicinal industry, with, you know, the herbs and the having, you know, rule over medicine, or being the healers. And I'm trying to think what else they often, it's certain domains that the women have always had a
Mm-hmm.
strong influence on. And so it hasn't been a situation where the women have had to struggle for that kind of equality, because
Right.
they had this sense of, you know, not entitlement, but they had this sense of empowerment when it came to certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And that I noticed that as well, that in the dominant culture, American society, women have had to struggle for that in the workplace. But this is something that in other places or in our culture is the norm. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm. Right. So I think there's two sides to that. I feel
Right.
like part of it was survival of what
Mm-hmm.
we've had to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's just what you got to do sometimes, and especially in the face of like dealing with colonialism and westernization and slavery and all these things that we've dealt with to keep our family strong. We have to sometimes um, be the head or rely on the. But I also want to point out too that the matriarchs have also coexisted along with the what we would call like the patriarchs as well, like where they're
Mm-hmm.
both strong units in the family. It hasn't
Yes.
necessarily been one over the other. They both have existed. You know, there's always been grandma's house, and there's always, you know, a domain that she governs over and everything. And so does, you know, grandpa. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that there's times when, like you said, you have the women head only, but it also are times when you have both too. You know, and there
Mm-hmm.
also are examples where you see, you know, one. But I think for us, the more the norm is both or one.
Yes,
'Cause at
I agree.
least you gonna have mom and grandma if anything. You at least gonna have them.
Right. Okay. All right. And the work that you do and the skills that you and the gifts that you share with other women, how does that help them honor themselves and express, you know, their God-given femininity more?
I think that it helps them to connect with themselves,
Mhm.
to start actually getting to know themselves. One question I love to ask women is like, you know, if your yoni or your womb could talk, what would it say?
Mm,
What would it say? You know, and they thought, what? Like, I ain't never asked her. Let me see. You know, and that right there triggers like, you know, a connection. Like, hold on, let me think
right.
about that. Like, what's going on? You know, and do you give your yoni a voice? Do you give it a voice? Do you listen to it when it does say what it needs to say, or
Hmm.
do you just like repress that or suppress it and ignore it and keep moving? You know, and
Hmm.
then that's, you know, when we get other issues. So what I do helps women to connect with themselves and to get on the same side as themselves. And the thing is, your womb center is the seat for all of your, you know, for all your relationships, your emotions, for your creativity. So it's like when you get that right, you get everything else right.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
focusing on that area, you know, like we do, whether it's through belly dancing, yoni steaming, henna, whichever, is what helps us to, you know, continue to clear that area, continue to keep it flowing, so that you can continue to prosper from that. So helping
Mhm.
women to heal, helping them to connect with themselves, which in turn makes, because the thing is, like they say, when mama's happy, everybody's happy. When mama's sad, everybody's sad. You know, so I feel like as women, we are the center of the family, and
Yes.
everything else. So everything reverberates. You know, it's like a ripple effect. out. So
Right.
if we're healthy and we're fulfilled, and we're good in, especially in that area, then it helps our relationships, our family, our communities to be healthier, better, happier.
I agree. Happy mom, happy life.
But yeah, I think that as women, especially as Black women, when it comes to femininity, and what we deal with, I mean, we definitely have our issues that
Hmm.
we deal with specifically as Black women, and we definitely have our challenges and ways that we are stereotyped, and oppressed as far as our femininity goes.
Yes.
And like you said earlier, we're always accused of, like, it's, when we're compared to other women, that we're not feminine enough, that we're,
Hmm.
not submissive enough, and things like that. And first of all, I mean, I really don't. I mean, we got to me you got to kind of define what is submissive. What do you mean by submissive, first off?
Yes. Yes. I agree.
Because sometimes that's toxic definition in itself. Like, you
Mhm.
mean someone who just listens to everything you say, because you don't need a woman for that. Like, you don't need a wife, you need a robot. I mean, don't get me
Mhm.
started.
No, get started. That's why we got this platform.
All right,
Yes.
so I mean,
But
so
yes,
that my
being
thing is,
submissive means different things to different people. And yeah.
right. So who gets to define our femininity for us? Like,
Hmm.
are we gonna be told what isn't, or do we get to define it for ourselves? And we have to be careful of not playing into other people's definitions of what we are or are not.
I agree.
And when you know that inside yourself, for yourself, can nobody, make you feel lesser than you just are.
Hmm. Mm. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Powerful statement. Yes.
Yeah. And as far as, like, femininity and standing in your feminine power, I mean, if anything, one thing Black women have cultivated, melanated
Hmm.
women, is that the power within,
Mm.
that power within, being
Hmm.
strong, have an inner strength to power
Hmm.
through situations, especially challenging situations.
Yes.
And having that inner strength, like that inner knowing,
Hmm.
is the foundation that is so important when you're navigating out in this world. And I think that also is like the honestly the envy of many other of women who don't, of many other women, that when they see us, that is something we embody so well.
That inner
But
strength.
yes, but we're not oftentimes valued for from like our own men or whichever.
Hmm. Yes, I
Yeah.
agree. That inner strength and that inner light that we have.
Mhm.
Yes. And also
Mhm.
something that I think is so special about melanated women is the um the way we adorn ourselves, and it's no detail is left undone. And I
Oh
notice
yes.
when you get dressed, and I've seen you, on special occasions, and when you help other women with the henna adornment, is like you very detail oriented. And I think that's just so beautiful. Like when you see women of color, when they get dressed up, like going to a wedding or some other special occasion, it's like not only is the hair done, the nails, there's ornaments from head to toe. It's like nothing is left untouched. And I think
Yeah,
that's
down look down to the body scent, okay, to the
yeah,
oils we wearing, the shea butter,
yes,
all of
yes.
that. Look, we know how to set it. Anything going to a African wedding or a Black wedding says it all.
Hmm. Yes, and I agree. And I think that's the way it is. That's a part of expressing, like you said, your inner life, or your inner light, not life, your inner
Mhm.
light. And also just honoring yourself, and part of your self-care is expressing your
Yeah,
creativity, expressing your beauty, celebrating it, and um being proud of yourself, having pride in yourself and your appearance and how you look and how you feel, because the two do go together. Like when you feel well,
mhm.
it radiates outward, everyone can see it. And then when you adorn yourself, you all that helps you feel well. So it's like they work synergistically together.
And going back to, like you said, how we have a special way of how we adorn ourselves,
Hmm.
you know, Black women, like we set trends. I don't
Hmm.
know if you noticed, but we set trends. Like when we wear something, like, for for example, like our bamboo earrings, right?
Mm,
You know, everybody want to wear bamboo earrings with their name on them. You know what I'm saying? Or like we
right.
set so many trends through like, you know, popular
Our
culture and hip hop.
hairstyles and things like that.
We
Yeah.
make think cornrows. I mean, I remember when I was little. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh, I can't even tell a story. But this little, I had a friend. Say her name
Hmm.
was Carrie. I'm not gonna say her real name. She was a white little girl. We were really
Okay.
close. Our mothers were really close. And one time, she had actually cut my ponytail off. I wasn't looking, and we were like maybe like 8 or 9. And she cut my whole ponytail off. My mom, and I actually wasn't too upset about it. My mom was extremely upset because I had really long hair. And
The
she
whole
was
ponytail?
huh?
She cut the whole ponytail off or
My
just a
whole
little
ponytail,
bit?
she cut it from the rubber band, yeah. And then she used to do things like she before that she was always like it's funny because we would play together and we were friends, but she would say stuff like that we look like boys, stuff like that. She would really put us down. She was a white little girl. And so my mom got really upset about it one day. And because sometimes she would watch her or whatever, and then, yeah. And so my mom had like I can't remember, but she was like putting her in her place and was
Mhm.
kind of like snapping. And then the girl Carrie, I almost said her name. She started crying, and she was like, "I'm so sorry, Miss Diana." She was like, "I just want you to braid my hair too." And so all the time she had been putting us down, saying that we look like boys, making fun of our hair, cutting like terrorizing us. Because I have like 3 sisters, so it's all of us.
Okay.
And
All
all along she
girls.
was doing it because she was jealous
Hmm.
because she wanted her hair to be cornrowed with beads on it, the way our hair would have beads on it and stuff.
Hmm.
So I think that's something that we also, and I mean, I think that we need to acknowledge too, is that we set trends. And I mean,
Yes.
you got people out here pumping up their lips now, getting booty injections. Like you even got black women getting booty injections, which that just got me. Oh my, I don't even know what's happening. What is happening?
Yes. Yes.
But
Yes.
I'm just saying, our typical body type and everything, from our clothes to everything, is
Is
being emulated
envied
in these,
and
But yet, we don't get credit for like we don't fit the Eurocentric standard of beauty, and we don't get that credit for being beautiful, for being. And
mhm.
now, I mean, that's starting to change now.
Yes, it's slowly
Weird.
changing. It's not
Yes.
changing enough, but you're seeing more representations of varieties of different women. It's not just one type anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And for a long time our beauty was not celebrated in the larger culture, and so you're seeing more representations of us now. And what I'm excited about is you see more representations of us with our natural hair, which I think is very important. Although I wear my hair covered a lot of the times in public, I kept it natural because I wanted to set a good example for my own children.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's so important that you see our natural beauty for the beauty that it is, and just more
Yes.
representations of it that will motivate more little girls and boys to
Mm-hmm.
celebrate their own unique beauty. And when you said the
Mm-hmm.
cornrow thing, that is a trend, but it's we a lot of things that um some of us don't find attractive is so beautiful and alluring to other people. Because I
Mm-hmm.
noticed I've been around a lot of people from other countries, and they are amazed at our hair, the texture of our hair, braids, the locks. When I went overseas, people were I don't have locks, but there were other people that I was traveling with that had locks, and it was just so amazing and exciting to other people to see, because some of them had never seen that before. And
Mm-hmm.
just the texture of our hair is different. And
Mm-hmm.
then one thing that I just love to see, I love to see little girls with afro puffs. It's one of my favorite hairstyles. And everybody can't wear that style, everybody can't rock that style.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that I think we should celebrate. We should have an afro puff day, but we should celebrate that.
I'm
And
here
no,
for
I
it.
really do, because if you look at it, you could take a little girl's hair and you put it into two little puff balls,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll hold that style. And even if your hair is curly, you can make the curly puffs or whatever, and
Mm-hmm.
it's
It
just
is.
it's cute. It's very cute, and it's simple but elegant style, and
Mm-hmm.
nobody else can wear that style. So I mean, those
Mm-hmm.
things like that, or the cornrows and um, the beads with the cowrie shells.
Yes. And while you
All
on it,
this.
waist beads.
Yeah, things like that that we wear, waist beads, anklets, toe rings. I wear toe rings, and a lot of people find that like, I don't know, just a interesting conversation piece.
Yeah,
Some
I
of
like
the
toe rings
conversations
too.
I've had around that, and I'm like, it's not so unusual. Everybody wear toe rings on it, but some people don't, and just
I
the
like my toe
different things.
rings.
Yeah, just the things that we do to adorn ourselves and to honor ourselves. And this is something that I think that we should continue to do and encourage one another, um, because it affirms our femininity and also our culture. And
Hmm.
it really helps with your self-esteem, your sense of connecting to your
Hmm.
sacred self, like with the womb work that you do, the yoni steaming, the belly dancing.
Hmm.
All of those things help you affirm and celebrate yourself as a woman. Definitely. All right, this was a
Yeah.
great conversation. So, would you like to share your contact information to the listening audience, since we don't have any questions?
Okay. It kind of was a glitch, but I think you just asked me for contact information, right?
Yes, I said since we don't have
Okay.
any questions, we're going to wrap up. Would you like to share your contact information to the listening audience, so if they want to contact you for
Yes.
the belly dancing or henna?
Yes, I would love to. So my website is passageinstitute.com. That's
It's okay if I put
passage.
in the chat.
Yes, please.
Okay, so
So
passageinstitute.com.
PASSAGEINSTITUTE. Passageinstitute.com. My 1-800 number is 1-877-370. Oh, hold on.
Wait a minute, hold on.
I gotta make sure I don't get it wrong. Are you ready for me to say it?
Uh-oh. And everything is, maybe it's me. Okay. All right. So I got passageinstitute.com. And what's the 1-800 number?
1-877-570-3108.
Baby. Wait a minute.
77
1877. Okay.
570
This is not my computer, so you can tell. All right. 570.
3108.
Okay. I got it. 1-877-570-3108. Correct?
Correct.
All righty.
Yes. Yep.
So I put that in our comment section for our listening audience. And thank you so much again, Queen Shemorah. Such a blessing to have you on the show and to answer these questions. And looking forward to having you as a guest again, perhaps when we do another discussion about maybe moon and or the astrology or belly dancing or something we'll be doing. We'll be talking about.
Yes.
We'll have you back, because belly dancing is also very healing as well.
Yes. Yes. And thank you. You're welcome. And thank you so much, Queen Tamara, for I just love anytime that I get to connect with you. And it's a pleasure.
Likewise, yes, thank you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I love to connect and share anytime that we can to, keep the sisterhood strong and healthy.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate you. And peace and love to everyone.
Peace and love.
Thank you.